What if I told you that one single sentence from one single man might have just killed the biggest transfer rumor in modern Formula One? Or what if it was all just another chess move in a much bigger game happening far away from the track? Because what just came out of Toto Wolff's mouth right after the Austrian Grand Prix could completely change the direction of the 2026 driver market, and not in the way most people were expecting. For months now, there's been this quiet tension hanging in the air every time the name Max Verstappen was mentioned around Mercedes. Rumors have been swirling nonstop: Verstappen to Mercedes, Verstappen replacing Hamilton, Verstappen starting a new era. And now, finally, we got something real. Toto Wolff, the man behind Mercedes' dominance for almost a decade, finally decided to speak up. And instead of his usual cryptic, polished media talk, he dropped a line that left a lot of people stunned. He said the chances of Verstappen joining Mercedes are very low. Now, when a guy like Toto Wolff says something has very low probability, that's usually code for that ship has sailed. Because this is not a man who speaks without weighing every single word. He's a strategist. He doesn't blink unless it's part of a plan. And to really understand the weight of what he just said, we've got to go back a bit. Ever since Mercedes started showing signs of life again after the 2022 regulation reset, the idea of Verstappen joining the Silver Arrows has been floating around the paddock. And we're not talking about some wild Twitter thread or tabloid headline. These were real talks, real meetings, documented encounters, whispers in hospitality lounges, glances exchanged in the paddock. This wasn't just media hype. There was a very real sense that something big could be brewing. Sources close to both teams have confirmed multiple meetings in recent months, and not just between Wolff and Verstappen, but with other major figures, some from the past like Niki Lauda, and others still advising Mercedes today. The idea of Max in silver wasn't just a fantasy. It was a dream with legs, a dream that made perfect sense. The fastest driver of the generation, sitting in what was once the most dominant machine on the grid. Verstappen in a Mercedes. Imagine that. The perfect storm. The start of another golden era. Even Lewis Hamilton, before announcing his move to Ferrari, had gone on record saying it would be fascinating to see Max in a Mercedes. That's how real this was. That's how seriously everyone took it. But now, Toto's just poured a bucket of cold water on that fire. And not subtly either. During the Austrian GP weekend, while the world was watching the action on track in Spielberg, something much more strategic was happening behind the scenes. And in one of the most tense off-track moments of the season so far, Wolff decided to drop the mask. Not fully, but enough to make it clear. Mercedes is no longer holding its breath for Max Verstappen. Still, he didn't deny the talks either. In fact, he basically confirmed them. Said it would have been irresponsible not to explore the possibility of bringing in a four-time world champion. And that's classic Wolff. That's him saying, yes, we talked. Of course we did. You'd be an idiot not to. But at the same time, the message was clear. Mercedes already has a plan, a long-term plan, one that doesn't depend on Verstappen. And that plan has two names, George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Let's start with Russell. After finally getting that long-awaited win in Canada this season, he's been stepping up in a big way. Wolff didn't hold back in his praise, said George has made no major mistakes this year, that he's shown the pace and the leadership qualities Mercedes needs. And look, Russell's had to live in Hamilton's shadow for years. Now, with Verstappen rumors swirling around him too, he's had every reason to crack. But he hasn't. He's stayed composed, steady. That's not nothing. Then there's Antonelli. The wild card, the boldest bet Mercedes has made in years. Promoting a kid straight into a top-tier F1 seat without even a full F2 season under his belt? That's risky. But that's also exactly what Red Bull did with Verstappen years ago. And we all know how that turned out. Kimi Antonelli has been tearing through the junior categories, breaking records, impressing veterans, showing raw speed and this insane adaptability that you don't often see, even in the best young drivers. Mercedes clearly sees something in him, and they're ready to put their money on it. But here's where things get even more interesting. Neither Russell nor Antonelli has a signed contract for 2026. That's right. As of now, Mercedes still technically has room to make a move. If Verstappen did decide he wanted out of Red Bull, they could still make it happen. And Wolff knows that. That's why he didn't give any deadlines. No ultimatums. Just enough openness to keep options alive, but also enough clarity to let the world know. We're not sitting around waiting for Max. Because this isn't just about Mercedes. The situation at Red Bull is chaotic. Internal power struggles, questions over Christian Horner's future, structural changes. All of it has created this fog of uncertainty. And for a while, it really did seem like the perfect time for Verstappen to jump ship. Especially with Mercedes showing renewed competitiveness and throwing serious money into next-gen development. But then comes the part a lot of people forget. Max Verstappen is loyal to Red Bull in a way few champions are to their teams. He's grown up there. He won all of his titles with them. His relationships with key figures like Helmut Marko and the Matschitz family run deep. Leaving now? That's not just a career decision. That's a personal one. It would be like walking away from the people who made him who he is. Not to mention, his contract runs through 2028. And breaking it wouldn't just be expensive, it'd be legally complex. On paper, it's not an easy escape. But from a sporting perspective, a move to Mercedes could be the challenge Verstappen didn't know he needed. Imagine it, four-time champ, leaving the team that made him a legend to rebuild Mercedes and battle head-to-head with his old crew. That's Hollywood-level drama. That's the kind of story that grabs headlines, spikes TV ratings, and creates legends. Still, for now, Wolff's made his stance public. Russell and Antonelli are the future. And by saying that out loud, he's sending a message, not just to Verstappen, but to every other driver out there thinking about that Mercedes seat. He's telling them, we've got a plan. We're not desperate, and that matters. Because F1, maybe more than any other sport, is all about appearances, strength, control. You can't look like you're waiting around for a driver, even if it's Max Verstappen. That's not how you run a team like Mercedes. There's also something deeper here. Wolff's statement shows a philosophical shift at Mercedes. Instead of going for quick fix, blockbuster signings, they're trying to build something sustainable. Develop their own stars. Create a long-term culture. It's risky, yeah. But it might also be the smartest move in the long run, especially in a sport where short-term pressure from shareholders, from the media, is brutal. So here's the real question. Is Mercedes truly confident they can thrive without Verstappen? Or is this all just smoke and mirrors? A way to play it cool while they still quietly hope Max changes his mind? The truth? Probably somewhere in the middle. Wolff is way too smart to slam the door shut on the best talent in F1. But he's also way too experienced to put all his chips on one guy who might not even be available. What's clear is that 2026 is shaping up to be one of the most pivotal years in modern F1. And wherever Verstappen ends up, whether it's Red Bull, Mercedes, or some wild third option, he's going to shift the balance of power on the grid. This could be the continuation of a dynasty, or the start of a brand new rivalry that defines the next decade. Or maybe, just maybe, the biggest shock in years. Either way, buckle up, because when Verstappen finally makes his call, the whole sport could flip overnight. And that's the beauty of F1. Power, ego, money, loyalty, and just enough speed to shake the world. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Mercedes really all in on Russell and Antonelli? Or is this just one more move in the never-ending game of political chess in Formula One? Let's talk about it. And if you're into shocking twists and behind-the-scenes bombshells, don't miss the next video. Because what's happening off track right now might just change everything we thought we knew about the future of this sport.